The Tesla has ruined the new Toyota Tacoma for me. Well, maybe that's a little too strong. It has tainted it a little bit. For those of you who don't know, I did buy a Tesla, or Tesla is how I like to say it. And I know a lot of people out there are going to be like, what? You bought an electric vehicle? You traitor! Well, I like to stay current, and right now electric vehicles are maybe or maybe not taking over the world. We shall see. There's some controversy to that. But I've always liked the Tesla, except for the body style of the 3, which is what I bought. They changed it. They did a redesign. The Model 3 now looks awesome. And I did have a Toyota Prius hybrid as well. By the way, you can check out the new Tesla over on my other channel. It is RobMotive Plus. Everything about it right now over there. But anyway, why do I say it has ruined the new Tacoma for me? Well, there's a few reasons. And you know, I will say, speaking of electrified vehicles, my plan was to get the hybrid Tacoma down the road. And this has kind of solidified that even more for me in having an electric vehicle. Question is, what about an electric Tacoma? We'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But how has the new Tesla tainted the new Tacoma? Well, number one is the acceleration. I mean, it's awesome. And I didn't get the souped up, hopped up performance version of the Tesla either. The one I have is just the standard rear wheel drive, but it is fast. I mean, it goes. There's no hesitation. When you hit the accelerator, yeah, it's not a gas pedal. When you hit the accelerator, it takes off. So much so, it will throw you and anybody inside to the back of your seat. I love it. It is a blast to drive. Zippy, quick, fast, any adjective that you want to throw out there to describe it. Also, the efficiency of it, obviously. I mean, it's a lot less money to operate the Tesla than it is any gas-powered vehicle, right? And the convenience of it. You know, I had a 220 amp, or volt, I should say, plug. It's a 32 amp. It's actually a 50 amp outlet installed in my garage. So I just plug it in when I need to refuel, right? How convenient is that? I pay less for the fuel, and I can do it all from home. It's funny, I had somebody say to me, well, you've turned your garage into a gas station, or a fuel station, I guess. Like, that's a bad thing. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the convenience of being able to refuel at home is awesome. I love it. Once it's done, it's done. I don't have to screw around and go to a gas station, and it's just so much better. Anyway, the ride quality of it. It feels like you're floating. And I know that's not really a fair comparison because I'm comparing a car to a Tacoma, a truck, right? But nonetheless, it's true. It feels like you're floating. Now, how does any of this relate to the Tacoma? I know they're two different vehicles, right? Well, the problem is that when I jump in the Tacoma, I'm trying to experience or do things that I would do in the Tesla. For example, it doesn't have stalks, turn signals, windshield wipers, none of that stuff. All of it is buttons on the steering wheel. I like that. And I often find that when I'm in the Tacoma, I'm looking for the buttons down here on the steering wheel when I'm going to turn left or right. When I want to activate the windshield wipers, I'm looking to push the button over here on the other side. It's a very strange thing, right? It's like trying to relearn every time I get in the Tacoma. But the strangest part, I guess, is the way it drives. You know, Tesla is set up really now for one pedal driving. It has regenerative braking to kind of regenerate or power the battery, to add a little bit to the battery, right? And that means that when you're driving along, your foot's on the accelerator, when you let off, it starts to brake. It starts to slow the car, the regenerative braking feature. I love that. When I'm coming up to a stop or something, I just let off the gas. The car automatically slows down. It's pretty cool. And I find that when I get in the Tacoma, I'm looking to experience the same thing. I have to be careful sometimes that you know, I don't get too close, start to let off the gas, think I'm going to slow down and stop, and I don't. I'm just freewheeling, right? Because that's not how the Tacoma works. But nonetheless, I love that feature, and strangely, it kind of reminds me of those old electric golf carts. You ever go to the golf course and drive one of those carts? The way that they work, when you let off the accelerator pedal, they start to slow down, they start to brake. A regenerative feature, right? It's the strangest thing, but it reminds me a lot of that. And who didn't like going to the golf course and driving around in those carts? You know, I would say, as bad of a golfer as I was, what I really looked forward to in going to the golf cart, or course rather, was driving around in those carts. So I get that feeling now on the road with the Tesla. Obviously, I don't get that with the new Tacoma. From a technology standpoint, the 2024 Tacoma has come a long way. I mean, we've got all kinds of tech in here. We've got a cool gauge cluster, a digital gauge cluster. But of course, the Tesla has the big 15-inch screen right over here beside me. And there's nothing in the center. I don't have any gauge cluster or anything. That was a little strange to get used to at first. But I find that when I'm driving around in the Tacoma, I'm looking for the speed or the speedometer over to the right on the screen, because that's where it is in the Tesla. Obviously, it's not the same in the Tacoma. Not a real hard thing to correct. I mean, when you glance over there and you see the smaller radio screen, you know what it is that you're driving around in, right? But still, I kind of like that. I like just that quick little glance to the right, and there is my speed. Don't have that in the new Tacoma. Obviously, it's different. But kind of makes me look forward to the day where maybe, and I'm sure it's probably coming unless we discover some other more efficient fuel source. I know Toyota is messing around with other things, kind of maybe moving away from electric, so maybe they're going to go with hydrogen. I've heard they're working with hydrogen, but still, even if they do that, it'll be a different setup inside. I don't know that I believe that's really going to happen. I don't believe that's the wave of the future, but who knows? I could be wrong. So anyway, an electrified Tacoma after having the Tesla. And let me say, I was vehemently against it. Just didn't make sense to me to have an electric Tacoma. And I think it still doesn't make sense if you're big time into off-roading or towing and hauling, which, let's face it, it's kind of what you do with a truck if you're using it the way it was intended, right? Electric is probably not the way to go, because nothing eats that battery up more than tying something to the back that weighs a lot, or overloading the bed, because you know that's what we all do. It's going to be very interesting to see. We do have the hybrid coming. It's not going to be the same feel as what an all-electric Tacoma would be, but I've changed my mind. If Toyota came out with an all-electric Tacoma, I would be very interested, maybe in purchasing one. I don't know. Anyway, those are just a few ways that I guess the new Tesla has kind of tainted or ruined the Tacoma experience for me. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Am I nuts? Yeah, probably. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.